What's up, guys? Dorky Dad, ValleyFlyin, mobile gamer. We're here at the Players Summit in California with Scopely, and they shared a lot of cool information with us about the upcoming roguelite mode. We're able to share a lot of it with you today. And first thing I want to do, just ask you guys, vibe check. Is this a mode you would be excited to play based on what we've been told?
I'm very excited to play this. This sounds very similar to a different game, DC Worlds Collide, the Else World. There's some elements of a digital universe, which is another game mode in that. I have a lot of fun with those modes, and if they bring that to Marvel Strike Force, I think that would be a great thing. So I'm really excited.
I agree.
So I think there's 3 stages to all of these things in this game. It's what they wanted to do, what we actually get,
true.
and then how they tweak it once they get feedback from the community. So we're hearing about what they want it to be,
Yeah.
and from that's how it sounds cool. But we got a glimpse into what they wanted Battle World to be,
Yep.
which is not what we got.
Yeah.
So there is some disconnect for me on what they tell us now and the actual implementation and what we get in game, which may be I'm skeptical of that part of the conversation. And
Right.
it's like, it sounded good. Everything sounds great. I'm excited. I like the direction they're going, but I would have been excited about the initial pitch of Battle World as well.
I was. The thing about Battle World is we didn't see the first iteration. We didn't see the waves were going to have Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and we didn't see Null was going to have 10 billion barrier and only damageable by certain things. As long as they don't implement those things, which I do think they've learned from, I think this mode could be great.
It could be great.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 3 things that they wanted this mode to address in Marvel Strike Force. They wanted to bring the fun, so it's supposed to be PvE content fun.
Yes.
They wanted it to gameplay differentiate. So it's not going to be like War, it's not going to be like Crucible, it's going to be a different gameplay experience, replayable, and I forget the last one.
It's
That might have been
PvE, replayable
Yeah.
PvE. Yeah.
Bring the fun, essentially. Yeah. So what do you guys think? How does that hit these markers? This is definitely a new PvE experience, definitely a new gameplay. What would you think about the replayability? I had never played a roguelite, but the way it's been explained to me and the way we've seen it in other games like DC Worlds Collide, like the other kind of like big roguelite games like the Spire game, I kind of looked into that last night. Have you played those games and did you enjoy that experience?
I haven't played those games.
Okay, well,
Just
I think we're getting ahead of it. I think a lot of people won't understand what we're talking about.
Go ahead.
We're going to explain so they showed us a tentative structure of the way that the game could play out, and we got to see like a prototype, and I think we're going to see more today. So you would say, I'm just going to give a random example. Everything's going to change. My interpretation may be different than what they said, but the concept is pretty straightforward. You got a map, right? And it's going to be different every time. So it's what's called a procedural based map. So it's not AI driven, but it'll be different every time. You load into the map, and the end goal is to get to the end and beat the boss, right? But how you go and get to the boss is going to vary because the starting characters might have restrictions. The starting characters might be random. Like there's a couple different ways they could do this.
Yeah.
But let's say you pick out a squad of characters, and then you start off, and then you have some choices. Do you want to go to the market? Do you want to go to like a mini boss node? Do you want to go to a basic wave? You make a choice. You go to one of the 3. You play it. Either you win or you don't. But let's say you do win, right? Then you get some sort of reward, and the reward will be a buff of some kind, or it'll be another character that you can add to your squad to continue going through. So, and it could be all kinds of absurd boosts that we have not experienced in the game. We've got a lot of Scourge type things that could be implemented, and you could turn on and off, or it could be something like blaster characters get insane more damage, and then you're like, well, I gotta focus now on using blaster characters, and for me to get to the end, I'm gonna have to change the strategy based on the boosts I'm getting. And then maybe you don't get through it, right? And that's the other part too. It's meant to be kind of hard, where it's going to scale. And let's say you die, well, then you can come back the next day or do a rerun the node or something like that. And then it should be incrementally better every time you play it. And whether or not the boosts carry over, or what the boosts are going to be, and you can select different ones and have a different strategy. So the idea that they were pitching to us is they wanted to have PvE content, which this game doesn't really have, and they want it to be different than the experience that we currently are having with like War and Crucible. It shouldn't feel the same. And then they also want it to be something that can be repeated and reissued out, where it's not the same every single time. So like a boss in a game, once you beat the boss and it's kind of done, they have to rebuild it every 6 months. This should be something that would be able to grow and change and be different every time without them having to rebuild it every time they want to send it out. And they don't, it sounds like it's going to be like a flash event type style initially, which is going to be like temporal dimension or something like that. But it's, I kind of hoping that they would do something like this more frequently, weekly or twice a month or something like that. But that's, I don't know if I explained. Do you guys understand the same way I did?
I understood what you said. So let me ask you a question then. I was really impressed with the people who are working on this. They seem super involved, very passionate.
Yeah.
One of the guys, name redacted, said like one of the ideas he had for a buff, and we all went, "Whoa!"
Wild, drastically different gameplay based off of the buffs.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be different. Yeah,
which is really cool. All right, you touched on something that we are allowed to share for sure. This is going to have like a flash event cadence, so kind of like Tower, sort of Satellite Kiln, where it's not in the game 24/7, but it pops up as one of those events. You touched on something really important, right? Because if this game mode is going to be as cool as it sounds like it could be, Tower, people love Tower.
Yeah.
But the first Tower happened, and then we didn't see it for months and months after that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can't have that, otherwise it's not hitting these 3 goals of the replayability. Well, if it only plays once every 2 times a year, that is not so great, right? How do you feel about it being on a flash event cadence?
I was a little disappointed with that. I thought it would be something like that would repeat every day. If you go to DC Worlds Collide, that's something that you're doing every day. It's really, really fast. It's fun. It's something you look forward to. Yeah. This one, the time that they talked about might be a little longer than you would take in DC Worlds Collide, but I think that's something they're still working on as far as the time. But I want it to be something every day. I don't know. I think it can still be good, but as far as a content creator, I think they wanted this to replace Cosmic Crucible, and I like the Extreme Cosmic Crucible on the weekdays. And I was hoping that this would be that replacement. And while it's going on during that flash event, looks like it will. But when is it going to return? How often is it going to come? Those are questions that I would like. But I do think that it's good that it's coming because of that replayability. You mentioned the PvE content. We don't have a lot. Well, when they put in the PvE content, we beat it and it's done. And we don't get anything new until they go back and make that. And I don't know how many dev hours that takes to make that, but I'm looking forward to this. It's just variety of content just coming all the time. They don't have to go back and make it. We just get some new things to play all the time. So I think, there's a lot that I heard that I like. Right?
I agree. Like, I would want this to run more often than not, based on what I've seen. What about you, Mo? What do you feel about the cadence?
Yeah, I think it's fine. And I understand why they want to build it like this way. Like Dark Dimensions, a lot of people say, well, give us a reason to replay it, right? Yeah. And we just don't. And generally, Dark Dimensions, in my experience, are fun the first time through, but then why do I ever want to go back? And so this is not designed to be like that. I mean, there's a very specific intent. Replayability, different than what we're already playing, and PvE. So it's very, PvP grows because you're playing against other players and new rosters and things, so they don't really have to play with it after the fact. They just change the room rules. But I like the idea. Like I said, again, it comes down to implementation of the concepts that were presented sound great. We heard some about how, the game basically, it's 7 years old, but it was designed 9 years ago. And so they have some limitations with the tech and the structure and the heart. Some of the features are hard-coded in the game. A lot of the things that they did with Scourge and Battle World have allowed them to do a lot of these things. So there was things that they did with the Scourge system and with Battle World that are allowing for this new game mode to come into play.
Yeah. Let's talk about all the game modes and the time sync, because obviously when we have a lot going on in game, it can be a lot of time for mobile game. They did tell us a single play is going to get you milestones. Like, that's going to be the bulk of the reward. A single play of this game mode would award you that. And then it'd be repetitive play for leaderboards. We can't talk about what a leaderboard would entail. But how do you feel about that? Because the way I interpret that is basically to say, like, hey, if you're a casual player, one playthrough of this is going to get you everything that we want the community to have. And after that, it's straight extra. Do you like that leaderboard aspect of like a Scourge, but not saying it's going to be like legendary character, red stars or anything that crazy in the leaderboard? How do you feel about that part?
I think they got to satisfy casual players because it is a mobile
Yeah.
game, but there's also hardcore players that want that depth on a mobile game. So I think, at least the way it sounds, this can provide that because if you're just a casual player, you do your run, you get your milestones. If you're a hardcore player, you want to get that perfect run. You want to get all those perfect boosts and things like that. You want to have that perfect team to go in, beat the boss, and just smash that boss, get the perfect amount of points. So I think the way it sounds, or at least what they want, it can appeal to both hardcore and casual players. So I think that's a good thing. What is your interpretation of that?
So this was in the category for me of stuff that might change and who knows.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could. First of all, like what they said, I would have to experience it, and then lastly, I think it could change a lot over time. So like I didn't really pay. I mean, they said some things. I was like, yeah, we'll see, right? That's kind of the way that I took this part of it. I do think that, oh boy, I would say. I know that a lot of players are, only want to play things if the rewards are amazing. I think they're trying to satisfy that in some way, but then also give players that really want to finish it and make it perfect, but yet the players that don't want to do it more than once would still be satisfied. Like, I felt like they were trying to make both groups happy in some way.
Like, that's what I felt when Frozen Dimension kind of sucked, right? But I think the way Frozen Dimension...
I like it.
I think the way...
For endgame players, it's good.
Well, I think the way Frozen Dimension, the way I felt like it was supposed to go, and then they also ran Temporal Dimension, which is an extremely hard game mode, and it just had snow globes in it, and there was a vanity reward, right? And I think that's where they could lean into to hit the two groups, right?
Yes, it's exact. I think that was a test in some ways to figure out what we really want.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wonder how it went, because I saw a lot of people that hated Temporal Dimension. Everybody hated Frozen Dimension, but there was a lot of people that liked Temporal.
I didn't hate Frozen Dimension.
99.99% of non-Valley.
No, I think if you had an end game roster, you would enjoy it. It's hard, but it's just like almost impossible if you had a mid game or noob roster.
True.
So that's what the problem is.
All right, you touched on accessibility. They said this is going to have a Scourge-like difficulty slider. So it doesn't matter where you are in the game, like you will be able to play a version of this game mode. I thought that was very important. Just want to throw it in the video. I assume you guys
they mentioned a few things that I don't think we could discuss. How new players, like
will
really
engage,
new players, can engage with this.
But cool stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we can talk about that yet, but it sounds really, really cool.
Yeah. All right.
And I suspect, I don't know, but I highly suspect that whatever came out last week will do the best.
Yeah.
I highly suspect.
As always.
As always. I'm just, and because a lot of times you look at these things, what's the catch? How are they going to make money?
Yeah.
And I suspect that is the loose plan. I mean, I don't know, but that's what I suspect it's going to be.
It has to be the plan. It has to be the plan. They're in a business to make money. They want to sell new characters and make money somehow. Yeah.
There's a cool idea behind that, though. So if that is the case, then we could see this game mode pop up every patch to incentivize the newest team. And I think that's pretty cool.
Good.
But the cooler thing...
What if this... I mean, there's something I did want to say. What if this was like the showcase release? Like you start off with the 5 members of the new team.
Okay.
And then you're going through it. You know what I mean? Who knows? I mean, that'd be so much...
They could do once they launch this, they could do a lot to change it like that. Yeah. So there's a bunch of cool things that they could implement and feedback from the community. And once the community gets it in their hand, they're like, oh, we got this idea. And then... that might be implemented, so that's...
And they did say that. They said, like, this first mode is not going to be the same as the second mode, not going to be the same as the third time. Like, they're going to keep improving.
Yeah, they're releasing this early to get this into the players' hands, because one of the mistakes that they made with Battle World is they waited, and they were like, well, we could have got that information months ago if we released it, so let's just release this thing now. So we're going to get it hopefully sooner.
All right, and finally, we can't say what it was. How'd you feel about the new environment?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Looks cool. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So and it's a no-brainer.
Looks cool. We can't say it.
You can't say what it is, and we'll have to see what we actually get.
Yeah.
But what we were shown was a no-brainer, and appeals to me very much.
Me too. Yeah. Yep. Very much.
Yeah. That's a good way to say it without saying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all we got, unfortunately, to share with you in this video. We'll have more. I think whatever we're told today, we're going to bug them about being able to share with you guys tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever it might be. But from Dorky, Valley, and Mobile Gamer, later. You guys can say bye, too.
Bye.